special occasion. Do it Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, holidays and weekends. We can have one more party. There's more hell we should be raising. One more party now, one more party tonight.
Hi everyone, we're back for part 9, I think this is, of our Tuscan house, and I think this will probably be our final part. It may be that I get to the end of this video and then set it down for a little while where I can see it, and I may add on an extra bit onto the end, but it'll be all one video for you from now on until the end. So let's have a look and see what we need to do to this painting to bring it to life. We've got all the basics in, got everything where it kind of should be, but there's still a lot of details that we need to do, a lot of shading, shadows, bits and pieces just to really make it sing. So what I'm proposing to do pretty much as I can is start at this side and work our way across. As I say, that's purely because I'm left-handed, so I'm not always working in wet paint. I'll be working into dry paint. You might find it easier to start at this side and work your way that way, but it'll be the same steps irrespective. So first thing that we come across is this plant pot, which is on the wall. I like the plant pot, there's nothing wrong with it. It seems to be the right shape, and I'm happy with the colour and the shading on it. But just around it is just a bit of kind of muck on the wall, or bit of shading of some description. So I think we need to address that. And what I'm going to use is burnt umber.
You was putting shade in front of your pot. I couldn't.
Oh right, I
was making it very dark.
Wanted to wait with
just
you.
moving your towel. It's just we were out on the edge of the picture,
right,
and you were in the shadow of the towel.
I live my life in the shadow. I'm also going to put out a bit of raw umber, which is right there. Because it may be that's just, when we dilute that down, it might be a slightly better shade for some of the shadows. So I'll put that out as well. So this really, what we need to make now is really quite a glaze almost. I would call that a glaze. And what I've got out here, I should have left it to show you, is glaze medium. This is De La Roni glaze medium, and it's matte. It could be in gloss. It doesn't. That's not. Doesn't matter whether it's matte or gloss. Glaze medium is ostensibly the stuff that is in your paint, apart from the pigment. And what it does when you add it to your paint, it makes it go further, makes the pigment spread out more, so you get a more transparent look to it. You can do it with water. You can use water to thin your paint down. The only thing I would say about using water is that you get a thing called underbinding, and the paint underbinds. It doesn't bind enough to stay on your painting. I mean, if it's going to be for you or whatever, that's fine. If you're going to put it in a museum, I would recommend you get the glaze medium. I don't know, when they talk about underbinding, there's never like a definite age. It's not, when it gets to 2, the paint will drop off, or when it gets to 4 or whatever. I mean, it could be 100 years for all I know. I'm just telling you what I know, that using a lot of water into paint causes this thing called underbinding. And to get around that, we use glaze medium. So that's kind of all I know on that topic. So I'm going to take a bit of, I'm just going to take a little bit of this raw umber actually, bring it down here to my glaze medium, and add quite a lot into there. I've got quite a dark colour there. but it should be very transparent. Now when you're using the glaze medium, you're better off not dipping into the water because then you're doubly diluting your paint. So this makes this very smooth, very nice to work with. So we need a little bit under the plant pot, and then it sort of pulls out towards along the side here. And just dry brush it once you've unloaded your brush of paint. Just dry brush it so it melts into the background. And that's pretty much all that needs, but it has given it now some life, I think, which is good. Now under here it's quite dark, much darker actually, and then up the side here it's quite dark as well. So I'm going to use the same mix that I've mixed for up the side of here. I think that's perfectly fine for there, to go up the side of your plant pot. And the same thing, pull it away and dry brush it as much as you can, just so it sort of sinks into the background a bit. You see this bush that I did now, it's properly dried. It's got that lovely effect on it. Can you pass me that picture off the wall, please? And I don't know how far up I need to hold this for you to see. Yeah, there. I think that's good. This is the same effect that I employed on these bushes here with a filbert, and you can see it's a really nice effect. It works very well, and there's some down there, and there's some up here. That's a particularly nice one, that one there. So it's a really nice effect if you get the hang of doing it. Right, where were we before I was rudely interrupted myself? I'm just going to put a little bit coming up here under the bougainvillea, because I'm quite sure it must cast some shadows. It doesn't look like it does on our picture, but it must. I don't need to go overboard with it, just a hint that there's a shadow there of something. Now then, when we get to here, the bottom of this window ledge, I can still see my initial transfer line here. And despite the fact I was telling you to just paint over it a margin, I haven't taken my own advice. And so I think that there would be a fairly solid line under there because of a shadow and because we're changing from that stone to that our house stone. So I'm going to put a line under there, which I'm going to do in plain raw sienna and burnt raw umber, please, if you don't mind. I can't get into all of it because I've got some bougainvillea going on, but I'm just going to put a fine line using the chisel edge of my angle shader, and it'll just give it a bit of a, looks slightly more like a shadow. And I'm just going to take a bit of this glazed umber that we've got down here, and I'm just going to pull this away from the side here. A little bit like that. I think I'll seat that in properly. Now then, I'm not getting into that bit yet because I haven't got there. So I've got this done and this done. There is a shadow. There's a lot going on where the path meets the house. I think I'll leave that and do that all together. I'm just going to try and get this bit done first. So moving along, there's this, which looks all right, apart from one thing. These window shutters are much more vibrant on my painting than they are on the reference photograph. And also I made a mistake. I put the shutters in using black, Mars black, and it's too black. It's too dominant for the picture. They need to look a bit more, I mean, they're not falling apart or anything, but they need to look a bit more like they've been out in the sun for quite a long time. So I need to address that by using, I'll use some of this mixing white that I was telling you I'd bought, which is a transparent white, and I'll also mix that through some glazing medium, so I'll get a very transparent white. So I'll put this in the opposite corner, otherwise I'll get mixed up between what's glazing and what's... I didn't realise when I bought this that this was such a huge bottle. It's on the large side. I don't think I needed it that size really, particularly. So I'll clean my brush off of all the brown that it might have had on it. And I'll take some of that mixing white, take some of our glazing medium, mix that up together, make sure that it's going to be quite transparent. Okay, let's give that a go. So I've got some brown on my brush here, which isn't what I wanted, but never mind. So let's just have a little start and see what it looks like. Well, it's just doing it, but I think that's fine. I think that's all we need. Just, we don't want too much. It's definitely knocking it back. I can see it on the black more particularly than anywhere. And I think it's, for all it's a fiddly little job and whatever, I do think it's worth it. Those shutters were really drawing my eye and I didn't like it at all. So now's the time to rectify things. Yeah, I think you can, I don't know if you can see, no, you can't see on the camera, but you might see better on this one.
When you do the left-hand one, I think we might see it a bit better.
You can just see that it's the merest hint of a white glazing that, knocking the black back a bit, which is what I'm after. I think you'll see when I put it down there that it has an effect. It's always a bit worrying when you're doing the glazing, because if you put too much colour in it, well, you're just painting it again. That's better, actually. You can't tell. I'm really sorry about that, but it's
Give it a zoom in before you've done all of it, and then I might be able to pick up on the
I've only
areas.
got a teensy bit left to do. I've just got this very bottom portion left to do, but let's see when I put it on if you can see. There we go. Sure you can see that. Just knocking that black back a little bit. There we are. I think that's well, it was annoying me, so I'm happy it's done. There we are. That's better. Can you see it, Mr. H, or am I going mad?
No, I can definitely see it in natural light.
There does. There does. Right, so moving along, we've got, well, the frame, climbing frame, pergola, whatever it is, arch thing for the bougainvillea to climb over. We spent, good time putting ours in, and making sure that it was perfect. And now it's been grown over by the blooming plants. So I think what we need to do is reinstate that, but bolder, make the black lines a bit thicker. I mean, to be honest, these are quite thin anyway, so we're going to make it more like a sort of industrial type climbing frame. And then we need some black. So having learnt my lesson from using black for this and it coming out too dark, I'm still going to go back over this with black, because in my mind it's that wrought iron that's been sprayed black, and so it really is black. So I'm going to do it in the Mars black. And we need a fine liner. On the water pot, so it's properly wet. Right, so as normal, we just take a bit of the black off the pile, add some water to it, so as it's more like an inky consistency, and that enables us to be able to pick it up with this very, very fine and delicate brush. To load it, you just roll your brush, roll it in your fingers over and over in the paint, and then pull it back off whilst still rolling back off the paint, and you get a very nice point loaded with, and your whole brush is loaded with paint. So let's have a look at these. So here's one of our lines here. So put it in quite boldly. And it comes back round here. I can't see much more of it than that. But there's the other side of it there. These are all things just titivation is what it is. And if you don't feel like titivating, then don't. If you're happy with it, how it looks to you, that's perfectly fine. Leave it as it is. It's just I thought that this might enhance our painting a little bit. So I'm just making them bolder. Of course, there's foliage growing over it, so I can't just put them all in solidly. And actually, I can't see any of that at all. And I'm just going to take a gamble on a line about there and one about there. So I think that's a bit better. I mean, it's not as if that is going to make the picture, but it helps to make the picture. And seeing as I've got black and my very small brush, I'm going to do the one on the other side too. I think we'll probably take that off the book now, actually. I think we've finished transferring. This I can see quite clearly is here. And the one above it is still just about visible. There's a line coming down there. I can't really see much more of this one. I think that's pretty much all I can see, really. I could draw some in, if I trust myself. Get that line up there. I think that's pretty much all I can see. That's fine. I'm quite happy with that. That's okay. Right then. So, carrying on our quest across the painting. Where are we now? We've put shading in there and there. I think we probably need a little bit just under the window ledge. We've put a line in, which is great. That's, that differentiates one from the other. But I think we just need a little bit of this, which is drying up on me. A little bit of raw on the bit of glazing gel. And I know you shouldn't use water. We're going to have to try and keep these alive somehow, so I'll just give it a quick spritz. So I think it's probably just the faintest of lines coming down here, giving us a bit of a shadow. As I say, pull it out, so in the end you're getting more like a dry brush technique. Okay, so this is bringing us over now to this plant pot. Now behind him it's quite dark, very dark in fact. So I'm going to use the raw umber raw and just put some shade up behind him there. Not too much glazing medium on the brush. Let's put this up there. That's his shadow there. And there's a little dark bit here, I'm not quite sure what it is. And then there's the shadow underneath. There we are, and pull it away. There we are, we're just giving life to these, some life to these plant pots on the wall. So then we've got this, which has got some dark pretty much all the way around it. So I'll just use the umber as it comes out of the tube. And just give it a bit of life. I'm going to have to mix this with a bit of water because I can't pick it up on the thin brush like that. To make it a thinner paint, and then your brush will pick it up much better. So it's just kind of down the sides of this. It just stands proud of the wall. Okay, that's fine. I think it does have some markings on it of some sort. It's fine. Now then, so we've done that. So this one, I think we need to put some dark in right at the top of the plant pot. Actually, on the reference photo, it's a plant pot inside this planter, but we didn't. Just missed my painting there. I didn't see that at the time, so I'm just going to put some dark in just to try and compensate for that fact. That's fine. And it's very dark down here in between this and the loop for attaching your dog to, or your bike or whatever. Draw a line down there, and then Randolph shader will be here all day. down into there. There's a bit of shading there, and at the bottom also. Dry it off, dry brush it out, dry brush that out that way. Okay, coming on. Down this side there's quite a strong line as well. I'm going to use a mixture of brown and black for that because it is quite dark. It just comes under here as well. And I'm going to use that same dark for the other side because it needs it, I think. Yeah, okay, I'm happy with that. So this one here is also, it's also got some dark in the top. Should just finish it off a little bit better. Reinstate that because it's got lost a bit, and a bit on the other side. We put it in with glazing, liquid medium, and it wasn't dark enough. The shadow's alright, I'm happy with the shadow, but it needed to be pushed back a bit. What it also needs is a very light rim around the top in something like black sienna, just around the top. These are the details that take the time, but that actually make a huge difference. So take your time with them, put them in if you can. So that just needs a lighter than that actually. Where's the titanium? Let's bring out the big guns. I'm going to have 3 puddles of white here, and I'm going to get them mixed up if I'm not careful.
Got a Sharpie.
If you've got a Sharpie, that would be great. Okay, Sharpie. So this is glazing medium. This is mixing white, and this is titanium white. Because I just know I'm going to get them all mixed up. And it's all going to go wrong. Right, so where were we then before we were rudely interrupted by the Sharpie pen incident? Looking at this, it needs some more dark. It's very dark around that. But it also, this one, and a little bit on that, they need more light on them. It's all very well putting darks into it anywhere, but in order for the darks to work, you need a light next to it. You need your darkest darks and your lightest lights, and that is where your eye is drawn. But generally, throughout the painting, where you have a dark, you have a light, and it balances it out and makes everything much more visible. So let's address that. Well, it's not a problem because we know how to solve it, but let's address that now. So I'm going to take some titanium white, a little bit of that, and a little bit of the glaze, mix it together, which you should never do with one of these fine brushes because you'll ruin it. And let's see, so this one here, it's got a...
Could you move to the picture across just like that, thank you.
Can you see that? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just got this sort of lightness on this side. And it comes across where it's at its fattest, like that. And don't be afraid, because this it will dry down. You know, you need to put it on pretty much like that, so it'll dry down and it'll look okay. Next one coming up is this one, and this is pretty much just at the bottom really. I mean, in the picture we've got a drain pipe here which we've studiously ignored for obvious reasons. We don't want a blooming drain pipe in our picture. But it's at the bottom, this light colour, and we're going to put a very dark shadow in there as well, which will accentuate that. There's just little bits of this coming up this side. That's fine. This one here, it's this light rim that we tried to put on and couldn't get because we were using the wrong stuff. So it's got that sort of lip at the top there. Looks better like that. And it's also, this needs to be lighter where it's coming in off this side. Like that. Leave a little space at the top for the rim. So that's fine. Seeing as I've got the light in my hand, I wanted to save these to the end, but I've got the light in my hand, so I'll just do these. So it's just the same thing, just coming in off the side. Fairly randomly, just give the idea that there is some light in there, like that, and this one too. This is probably going to be very dirty when we do our completed piece, but
you can see on that very first pot that you've done, it's dried back pretty much already.
Yeah, that's the thing. You've kind of got to be brave, really, and just go for it. This hasn't got a lot on it, more or less just like that, really. And seeing as we're going along nicely, let's have a look at this one that's up here, which is actually my favourite plant of all of them. It reminds me of a cyclamen, and I like it. It looks to me like it's in some sort of basket type thing, which it's not in my picture. Might be in yours. I'm just going to put a bit of highlight on there. So as when we come to put the shadow on, it plays up very nicely to it. And this fellow, he's already got a bit of shading on him, but we'll just reinforce that, because as you've seen already, it does dry back so much. I mean, it's got quite a white rim around the bottom. I don't really know what that's about, but it has. So we'll put that in. This tiny brush is not the best for larger areas. It's what I've got in my hand, so it's what's going with. Okay, so I think that brings us up to there, and I think we're doing all right, really. This stone I'm pretty much leaving, says she, dabbling at it. I'm just going to put that top edge in because it's white. It's sort of broken. It comes along like that. I'll just put some shadows, highlight in there. And another highlight down here. This is in kind of the muck of the road, really, but it's good to have it in first, and then when you put the muck on or whatever, it'll still be there. It's not going to disappear on you. Okay, so I think that's us pretty much plant potted up to there.
The one in the window.
Yes, I forgot about those fellas. Yeah, this has got quite a big big highlight on it actually, and it's got highlights along. Highlight along the top here as well. There, and kind of a line down there. I don't know what it's doing. Okay, this is the one. The highlight is right in the middle of it, which suggests to me that we're quite right in assuming pretty much the sun is pretty head on, really. This just comes down like that. Okay, now I think we've camp potted up. That's great. How's that looking on camera? Is it looking all right?
Yeah, it's looking grand.
Okay. Right then, so we need to address there's a very, very dark bit in here. So I think we need to address that. With the umber and just a smidge of the glaze. So it's not just pure dark brown that you're painting on, although it does look very dark. The thing is that in here, in the reference, this bush is right next to that, so it's casting shadows of itself on it. With mine, I've sort of moved it a little bit, but it's all right. It's still a dark shadow, and we'll put that in. Too much water in there. I might have to come back and give this a second go, but you're better off giving it 2 goes than one that's too. Put that into that bush there. And I can't believe that just stops dead without casting a shadow over here. Just don't think it would. So I'll just dry brush that out. It'll probably need a second coat here. Just to give it that darkness right down under here. And we're talking about dark darks and light lights. Just sort of biting into that bush a little bit so it doesn't look like it's just the shadows just come to a grinding halt. That's dark up there as well. Just dry brush it out. That looks a bit better, I think. I'll just give it one more glaze. So it's really nice and dark. And I'll just come up here and dry brush that out. Into the bottom of the bougainvillea. Yeah, I think does that look better?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, no?
Yes.
There is a very dark bit down the side of here, but I think it's something that's got nothing to do with us, actually. So I'm going to leave that. I'm also going to leave the shading on these ones, which I think probably brings us up to this one. I mean, look how that white dried back. It's so light. So this definitely needs some shading, because that white that it's on is very stark. So it needs something to help it along the way. I'm going to give it the tiniest of shades up there. I'm just literally going to use my finger just to succeeded in wiping that off, which is not what I wanted to do. So I'll dry my brush off and do it the proper way. Just pull it out with a dry brush. That's fine. I'm happy with that. So now we've got this one here, which has got quite a lot of dark from its fat tummy down to its thin waist. Speak for yourself, I'm like Twiggy. I mean, you can't see my body, but man, I'm thin. But then again, not.
Stretching artistic license just a little too far.
What you say? Right, this hasn't got much of a shadow at all under here, but we need something. So we'll just pull that away like that. Okay, so how are we looking overall on that side? Better? Yeah. I think this bush needs a shadow. That's what I would say. It's looking a bit like it doesn't belong in the painting. So just go around it. Very, very light shading, but enough to make it sit back into the painting, like it does actually belong in there. And just try to brush that away. Yeah, I think that looks better. Right then, we're making progress. So we've moved then onto the, here really. There's nothing. Oh yes, there is. There's some funny business going on down here. This is shaded. This piece of stuff here, whatever it is, concrete or whatever, is shaded. What is it? Marble or something? I don't know what it is.
It looks like some sort of limestone to me.
Yeah, it probably is. But it's a bit dirty, as is this bit of. I mean, this will be taken care of with when we come along the bottom, but just so as we can say, for the sake of completeness, that we've done everything above the path along here. That comes down into there, like so, and down to there. And we'll catch anything else that we need to catch with regards to that when we're doing the bottom. But that's a nice bit of dry brushing effect there, which I like. I don't know if you can see that actually on the camera, but it's. Let's have a look and see if I can get it for you. This bit here that I'm talking about. Can you see the way the brush has just skipped over the canvas and left the effect of the canvas? That is dry brushing. Right then. Well, the steps. What do we need to do with them? Should we leave them? I think we'll leave them and do them in with the path. Pass the book for today. So this brings us down over here. These are okay. This is okay. This we've done in a very dark grey, which I don't think is the right colour. So I'm just going to get some more of this and some more of this and mix up a wash. Not a wash, glaze. Glaze. We don't use washes. We're acrylic artists. So I'm just going to put this down here. I think that's a more accurate depiction of the colour, really. Than that grey. I don't think the grey was right. And this bit in here is actually very dark. Oops. So I was good for getting rid of the odd bit of mess up that you may have along the way. So that step comes out like that. That's fine. That's good. So we need quite a dark piece down in here, in this section here. And like we did before, where we've had darks, we need lights. So I'll use a mixing white. No, I'm going to use titanium white in a glaze. And just put some of this highlight back into it. And there's a sort of sorcery type thing at the bottom. Like that. Okay, so whilst we've got that, let's have a look at this plant pot here. See what he's got to say for himself. Small brush. He's got a rim around the top, and then little bits of shading, highlighting like that, and you'll get some shading in a minute. Okay, so where do we need to shade now? Well, it looks to me like there's a bit of something going on here, so let's have a look at that. So I just add a bit more glazing medium to that because I added some more umber when I wanted it darker, so I'll just add some more glazing medium, and we'll have a look at this and just put a bit of shadow in there like that. This bougainvillea is casting no shadows at all, which is quite surprising, really. Well, I think there might be some up here, actually. Just an echo of what's going on with the flowers, really. You know, they're tumbling down, and so is his shadow. don't do it all, otherwise it doesn't look like a shadow. It looks like that's the colour of the background. Okay. Yeah, I like that. I think that's given it a bit more interest. Okay, so we've addressed this apart from the bottom part. So it's just some dark on here, I think, and then that's our first pass done. It's a nice dark shadow. Get some with the glazing medium in, sure it's not too wet. And there's quite a lot of shadow around here. Seems as if it's shadowing the plant, as if there's a shadow for the plant. So I'll give it some shadow if that's what it wants. Okay, and I think here, just down here, I think there is the slightest hint of what could be a shadow of this plant. So it is just a slight hint. Down like that. That stands up on a platform that's got its own problems when you get to that stage. Okay. Well, I think that's the first passage done. Let's have a look on camera. I think that looks much more vibrant even like that, actually. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. I think, bear in mind there's nothing done from here down. Yeah, I'm pleased with that. Okay. So I think that we are looking pretty good, really. I might just give that brown another going over with mixing white. Mixing white and a little bit of the umber. It's just not to my liking exactly. I'll just it is dark in here because it's got this moss thing growing down it, but it looks untidy. Looks like we haven't finished it properly, and that's just not true because we have. But yeah, I think that's better. Right, so now we can address the problem of, well, I keep saying problem. I don't think it's going to be a problem. We've managed all this, for heaven's sake. I don't think got a problem now. It's just this and this part here, where all the muck and everything from people passing in cars and whatever it is that passes, horse-drawn carriages, I've no idea, gets all this muck up. So it's basically the same as a shadow. It's just darkening this down, and it comes out onto the road and it goes up onto the wall. So we've got some of this
darker on the wall than the road, isn't it? I would say, looking at the picture.
Yeah, but it's very dark in the middle bit. Where they join.
Yeah.
So from here, this section here is very very dark brown. Where's my angle shader? Silver angle shader. So I'm going to actually use the umber as it is out of the tube for this section here, because it is very very dark. follows the road up and it follows this around at the bottom. Make sure you've got enough paint on your brush, because you can't paint without paint. I know it sounds ridiculous, but loads of times I find myself struggling, I can't get that corner in or whatever. It's because I haven't got any paint on my brush. I mean, how do I expect it to work? Right, so that's that dark section there. And then there is a dark line all the way back in that joint. All the way back along there. And the shadow down here, and it's really very dark up there on the wall. I think there's a plant or something there, but we'll ignore that anyway and make it really quite dark here. I don't think I can show something on here, but under that plant, there's certainly quite a lot of dark. I'll bring it down. So we'll just let that think about life for a minute while we put in some shading on the road, which is the same colour but with the glazing liquid in it, glazing medium in it, and that sort of comes out like this, and you can instantly see the difference between the stuff with the glazing medium in it and the stuff that's raw out the tube. This gives a much more delicate finish, despite the fact it's trying to dry up on me. So it comes out and it sort of fades away into the roadway. And it doesn't have to be even or anything, it's just dirt and a shadow. Dirt and a shadow. Sounds like the name for a band. Dirt and the Shadows. Oh no, that's already been done. Everything's drying up on me. So we'll go back into this colour on the top, and we'll go back into the glazing this time and come back over what we've already put down, which hasn't dried by the looks of it. I'm going to have to come back into that with some paint fresh out the tube and let it dry. I can't finish it until it dries. So that's that. I'll leave that alone to dry. Then over here, what have we got here then? Oh yeah, that's the bottom of that bit of limestone concrete marble. And it's actually quite dark there. and it's quite dark right up into that brick that's sitting there. So we'll paint around it, draw the line in that divides the road from the house. Fill that in. I'll just have to come back later when this is dry and put another coat in. It's too transparent like this. I've got no glazing medium in this. This is straight from the tube, but it's just very transparent. So, working our way down, let's put this line in. Which have the shadows and stuff going on here, isn't it? So there's dark at the side of that brick. There's dark there going up to there, and there's dark under that brick and at the side of it. So we'll just pull them out a bit. Remember, this is the stuff straight from the tube. And then we go down to here, which is very, very dark. So once again, I'm going to put this in, leave it to dry, and come back. And I mean, this goes right the way up the side of here. So don't forget to go in and out of your bush. Don't make it like a circle, you know, straight edge on it, because it's absolutely not. So yeah, that comes around, leaving very dark shadow there. It comes down to here, like that. We've got some sort of discoloration here, more than a shadow. I'm sure it's just a bit of dirt or something that's been kicked up, in my mind, by all the horses that pass by. Oh dear, maybe, who knows it? I bet these people are absolutely fed up of people coming to take photographs of it. Apparently there's a street, I think it's in Spain somewhere, there's a street, and it's evidently it's very, very pretty. It's got, every house is painted a different colour or something like that. And they've applied to the local authorities to get the road taken off the map and sort of blocked off at each end, because they're absolutely cheesed off with going out the house and everybody taking photographs for Instagram. So I imagine that these people are equally as irritated by the whole thing. That needs to be a good bit darker in there. Quite tinted up on the first pass, but that's okay. You can always go back and make things darker. Just cut into this bush here a little bit, because it is very dark down there. And the same with this one here. That's some paint on your brushwood. It's quite worrying really to do all this. I'm not worried about it, but I think I would have been when I first started to be, be painting dark colours everywhere. Right, let's have a look and see what we've got. Okay, well, we've got a good start, is what we've got. We need to soften all this out and then carry on with this sort of shading down here, really, I'd say. In fact, the shading on the road kind of disappears pretty much. It's only really here. So we'll just soften that out, even it out. If we can get some life sparked into this, who knows? Okay. So now we need the same thing. We need the umber and the glazing medium, and we're going to soften out. No, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to go over what we've already done so it's properly dark, because it should have dried by now. So we've got a really nice dark to build from. Yeah, that's much better. Try not to go right to the edge of where you went before. Leave a little bit that's a bit lighter around the edge. Quite squashed here. Got all this around the stone, which is very dark. I don't think this is properly dry yet. It's not really letting me paint over it, which suggests to me that it's just not properly dry. I'm guessing that this is dark here as well. I mean, it doesn't just stop. Just to give that bit of darkness as it fades off into the sunset. Okay, that's dry now, so let me put that in. So yeah, we've got a lot of dark around the place, but you know, there is a lot of dark. So we put that in, and now we'll go back to the glazing the umber that's got the glazing medium in it. And we'll just brush these out so they don't come to a sudden standstill. I've got an awful lot of glazing medium in this, and it may be that when it dries I'll have to go back over it with something that hasn't got quite as much glazing medium in it, because it's very, very light colour, very light colour. I might need some an intermediary between this very light and the dark that we've put in. Yeah, I think that's just too light, really. But I'll put it there, and then when we come to when it all dries, I'll put a medium sort of one in between. I don't want to paint all the wall, but you can see how light that is. It's just tinting, that's all. And it needs to be a bit darker. Needs a bit more oomph. It's turned out nicely. And then all up here. Okay, so that's not so bad. I just need an intermediate brown between the very light glaze and this full-on dark. So I shall add some more colour to my glaze, see what that gives me. Hopefully some midway type. Let's have a look and see. Yeah, that's nice. See, it's covering up all the sharp edges that we had from the first pass and just sliding in very nicely into the second one we put on, which was really, really light. It's all getting so horribly sticky, it's almost impossible. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? Yeah, it's going from very dark to light, and it looks just like it's sort of stepping through it, really, which is good. Here we want this just. Okay, well, I'm going to leave it like that for. I've forgotten to put a shadow on that, so I'll do that before I go. And then I'm going to look at it for possibly overnight, and then I'll get. It'll all be one video for you. I'll come back and tell you what I think I need to do and whatever. But I've reached a sort of impasse here. I can't do anything because everything I've got is just dry, so dry it's unworkable really. So rather than make a mess of it, I'm gonna call it quits. Call it quits and look at it for a while, which is what I often do with my paintings. I look at them and see what I like, see what I don't like, and see where we need to go. Okay, right. So I'll see you in a minute, but in reality, it might be 24 hours. So see you soon. Hi everyone. Well, I did tell you when I left you a minute ago that I would sleep on this and see how I felt about it. And actually, I put it up on the mantelpiece where it's right in my line of vision, and I looked at it all last night. And the more I looked at it, the more dissatisfied I was with my bougainvillea. I didn't dare put you through watching me paint it again. I just couldn't do that to you. You've been so tolerant with me. But I decided that I had to jazz it up a bit because I just couldn't stand it. It was too insipid, the colour was lost in the background, and bougainvillea is a big blousy plant, you know, it shouts out, it needs to be seen. So I'll show you what I did with that in a moment. I also, what else did I do? Yes, this part at the bottom. Now, I don't know if you can see this. I'll hold this up to the camera in the hope that you can see it. That around some of our crazy paving, I've put the thinnest of black lines around. And it just gives it a bit of dimension, I think. There you go, you can see it there. They're barely perceptible, but in real life they do just give it a little bit of, they define the stone from the mortar, whatever you call it. Not being a builder myself, I'm not a fake. What else did I do? Well, there you go, you can see my bougainvillea. It's loud and it's proud, and I'm actually much more pleased with it. The way that I achieved these pinks was I went in with a very, very bright red and I really daubed it on. I mean, actually, they're quite textured now. It's almost impasto, to be honest. It's not. It's not impasto. It's fairly smooth. But I daubed the bright red on in areas where I wanted the pink. On this one and this one. And this one I put red on as well. Then I mixed a medium pink, put it over it, and they stood out. And I thought, oh, please don't, when you dry, please don't disappear. But they haven't. I'm pleased with that. And for this one, I mixed a lighter pink from the same mix. Just put more white in it for this one, and I'm pleased with that as well. This one, I then mixed up some of the red that I put on as my background with some yellow, some lemon yellow to give it a bit of zing, and dabbed that on. This is the one I'm least pleased with. And then I went in with lemon yellow with a tiny bit of titanium white in to try and give it some opacity and put that on there. And, you know, now we at least have bougainvillea. Nobody can deny that. Whilst I had the red out, I just went over these little fellas a little bit more just to make them really stand out. And I went over these whites because they'd got very, very lost. Now, what needs to happen, I think, in order for us to finish it, is we need a little bit of sort of dirt up on this step. It's all a bit too pristine. This brick, which obviously has some significance to them, otherwise why would they keep it right outside the front door? but ours has become quite lost, or mine has at any rate become quite lost. So I'll reinstate that as well. And then just a little bit of dirt down here, as you can see, just where it's accumulated. So let's get cracking. The end is now absolutely inside. Oh, the other thing was I added a little bit of titanium buff, just over that grey. I felt my grey was a bit too dark there. It is mucky. When you look at the picture, it's mucky. But I think mine had gone over the top. It was, you couldn't see the plants really. So let's get paint time. I'll just use I think it's a 1/4 inch, it's called number 6, doesn't mean anything to me. It's a flat shader and it's a De La Romy one. It looks like 1/4 inch to me. And I'll see if we can, it's got some pink in it. Anyway, that's it rinsed out. We'll see if we can get this brick put in. I think a 1/4 inch is going to be just fine. It's that sort of size. I just felt we'd lost it. And like I said, obviously it has some importance to them, because why is it sitting outside their house? And I actually, when I first did it, I put a line between the brick and the stone because I thought that was where the shadow was, but it isn't. There's no shadow between the brick and the stone. There is on the sides, but not on that part there on the top. So let's just make sure we painted that out properly to there. That's fine. And I'm quite happy with that side bit I've got. It gives the illusion that we're looking at it slightly, it's angled that way on. Now then, the step, it looks kind of splattered and pitted. Pitted is probably the word. And so I think I might go for that type of look. I need a small roundish brush. This brush is fine. It's actually quite a large round brush, but it'll do the job. Hope you're getting excited now. We're at the end. I've spent this afternoon looking for. I've just got a mix here that I mixed up for the brick, and I'm going to use it on here for our pitted appearance. Just dot this on. Change shades, so it's not all just one shade. Yeah, as I was saying, I've spent this afternoon looking for our new project, and I actually think I've found it. It's beautiful. It's going to test us. It's really, really going to test us. But I think we've learnt quite a lot during the process of doing this. I have. I hope you have too. I'm really grateful to you for sticking with me right to the end. As I say, I bet you're sick to death of watching me painting bougainvillea. But we've got there in the end, and that's the main thing. Let's just pop some dots in there. We'll come over it with a wash of umber afterwards, but we just want to get some little bit of wear in it. I think that's probably going to be fine. It is darker over here. I'm dying to show you the new project, but I'm going to actually paint it myself first, just to make sure that I am being realistic here. Because there's no point getting halfway through it and throwing our hands up in horror and going, I can't do it. We have to keep it beginner friendly. That's the whole idea of this. Is so anybody that has never even picked a paintbrush up can join in along and get something, hopefully, that they're going to be proud to hang up in the house or give away as a gift. I think it's looking suitably weather beaten. Put a little bit of this titanium buff over here, not too much. Just a little lighter bit up there. Done away with all my nice umber now, so I'll just reinstate that. Here we are. I think that looks pretty good. So now there's just a little bit of glazing along to make them look. I've done the brick, I've done the step. Just need. So it's the same process as you watched me do earlier. A little bit of this raw umber, and we really want a weak wash, very weak wash. I did say to you yesterday that you can use water to achieve this, and you can, you really can. I've got glazing medium, so that's what I'm going to use. It's the right thing for the job, so I'll use that. I don't really want this round brush, but I'll swap in a minute when I've got this mixed. I'm going to mix up a fair bit because we need to go over the step, and we need some down here, some shading under these pots and that stone and whatever. Let's leave that to one side for the moment. Right, I'm going to use my very this Tuscan house has seen the end, I think, of this 3/8 angle shader. It's now for doing fluffy things with only, I think. So let's take a bit of this, and we'll just come along here, put a little bit of dirt on the road, just pull it out, just like we did yesterday. These plant pots probably need me to come back and put some shadow under them, but the wash that I've got isn't really strong enough to do that, so we'll just carry on along along here. Not up onto the pots, we don't really want it up onto the pots. And just pull it down, put it on, and then pull it out into the space. Just like muck would be really on a road. So now take a little bit of glazing medium on its own and just pull that out a little bit. Not really want a definite edge on it. But I do want some muck in there. Under this step, it actually looks pretty clean in the on our proper photographs. I'm not going to put too much in there. But I can't believe, I mean, sure the lady comes out and washes her steps every day, or a housekeeper or whoever. That's probably why we've got no muck there. Isn't it funny the stories that you can build up about people? I bet I'm not the only one who's imagined whoever it is that lives here, what they do and what they look like, what age they are. So there, I think that's enough. I think that gives us the illusion that we were after. I'll just put some of this over here to knock that titanium buff back a bit. I've got so little umber in this glaze, but I really don't want very much. It's easier to add another coat than to try and get it off. nearly missed the cut. We need some shading under here. Let's need a little brush for that. And just a bit of the umber, and not such a dilute glaze. Need a little bit of shading. Pull it out a little bit. The sun seems to be head on these, so it will go around rather than to one side. Well, after all these hours, I think we've finally come to an end. Nearly been the end of us at times, hasn't it? There we are, so we've got a bit of a shadow on that. Let's have a look and see what it looks like on the screen. Yeah, I think that's fine. I like this step now, it looks nice in keeping. Move that out of the way. There you go, folks. I think that's it. That's it in shot, and I think that's us done. That's me done anyway. There's no earthly reason why you can't carry on and put more plants, do what you want to do. That's the difference between us as artists. We're at this moment, when we're beginners, we're following along and we're doing things in a very pedestrian way. But express yourself. If you find something that you want to put on or you want to leave off, that's good. That's you exercising your artistic license, and that's great. But for me, it's a done deal. I will leave this to dry and then varnish it. And at the very end of this video, I'll put an image up of it, varnished and framed, and see what you think of it. Thank you ever so much for joining along with me all this time. Wait till you see the next one. It's a cracker. Thanks very much, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.
Me and the boys was sitting around drinking, we was talking about things that we was thinking, when all of a sudden, what comes out of Bill's mouth? Said I'm getting old and fat and slow, and I don't recover like I did before from nights of rabble, rousing and too much fun. Well, I looked around and we all agreed, and I had a drink and I ordered 3, and I staggered back to do it all again. And we made an oath on a rum and coke with the best intention, I'm sure you know, that we would stop this living in excess. We're gonna have one more party, one more special occasion. Do it Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, holidays and weekends. We can have one more party. There's more hell we should be raising. One more party now, one more party tonight.